Hello everyone and welcome to part 4 of my making a big car tier list of all the cars that you've sent me in the comments. So just before we start, if you want to send me in a car, just put it in the comments of this video. The cars that we'll be doing today were from the comments on my last video. That's just generally how this works, but yeah, hopefully you enjoy. Before anything, I want to go through and move some cars around. I'm gonna move the DeLorean up a bit, Carmen gear down a bit. My logic is I put that down because it has a bad engine. I put this down up because it was a bad engine, but it looked good. Looks the DeLorean is starting to grow on me, so I think I'm gonna put it ahead of that. Now that will stay there. You'll stay there. You'll stay there. Right. Now I'm gonna move the Austin Healey ahead of that. I'm going to move my dad's low cost, which wasn't, I made a mistake in the last video. It's not a kit car, he built it from scratch completely. And I'm going to move that up a bit. I'm going to put the Fury down to interesting, the Buick up to cool. I think that's about it. Now I'm going to move the Camaro up a slot. I think that's about it. For alterations that need to be, yeah, okay. Right, tier list altered. Now to actually add the new cars. Now, first car. The first gen Ford car. It's going to burn it. It's so horrendously, horrifically ugly. And it's just bad in every other aspect as well. It's just one of those cars that I think, ugh, every time I see one. It's a car that actively makes my day worse when I see one. And that says it all, really. Next car. The comment said Aston Martin Volante. It didn't specify which one, so I'm going to go with what I think is the most iconic one. The Aston Martin V8 Volante, and it's a very, very good looking car, and it's got a big rumbly, almost American style V8, and it was one of the fastest cars in the world of its time. Not necessarily the Volante, but the coupe was. But I'm going to put this Sub-Zero ahead of the Jensen. Do I put any green? No, I'm going to put it at the top of Sub-Zero, just below the Koenigsegg at the moment. Yes. Now this one. Citroen C4 Cactus. It's unique and interesting. Maybe not interesting, but it is unique. However, it's not unique in the way I like. I'm going to put this in atrocious. That's worse than the Beetle. It's just, again, so horrifically ugly, and there's not much special anywhere else. I just don't like it. This, however, I do like. This is the McLaren F1, and it is potentially the greatest car of all time. I'm going to put that in dream car ahead of these two, but below the Zonda, because that's my dream car. But arguably the F1's a better car. But I like the Zonda more. I mean, it's certainly one of the most important cars to own. Still the fastest naturally aspirated car in the world. It was actually quite usable for a supercar, one of the greatest driving machines of all time. And it held the top speed record of 242 miles an hour until the Bugatti Veyron came along and dethroned it. But even then, this thing is still an absolute masterpiece. In fact, it was never envisioned to be the fastest car in the world. It was envisioned to be the world's greatest driving machine, which I think it achieved quite well. It just happened to be the fastest car in the world because they put a brilliant Cosworth V8 in it. And yeah, it's now a legend, and deservedly so. Maybe not legendary enough to be 20-something million like they are now, but I don't know. I'm too poor to understand, I guess. Now, next car. Now, this is a weird one, because I don't know much about it, but I do know it has a V4 engine, which is quite interesting for sort of standard, like, economy, maybe not economy car, but just standard family saloon at the time. So, I'm going to put it ahead of the Datsun. So yeah, I'm going to put the Ford Core, I forgot what it's called. I think it's a Ford Corcel. Yeah, I think it's a Ford Corcel. I'll put something up on screen if I'm wrong, but if there's nothing up on screen, then I'm right. I also want to move the Mini up a bit because I've grown a bit of a soft spot for it all of a sudden. This is the way this tier list works. It constantly shifts and changes around. Now next car, Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite. It's a lovely little sports car. It's like a little perk engine. It's not very quick, but it's just a real hoot to drive. and it's probably the cutest car ever made. So, I mean, look, it's just happy to be alive. So I'm going to put that below the 3000 because I prefer the 3000, but I'm going to put it ahead of this Packard. Now, right, I'm just going to grab these two together. These two are both bubble cars. I'm going to put the BMW ahead of them, but the bubble cars, what were people thinking? Like, they're hideous, impractical, they were expensive when they were new, they're slow, they're completely unsafe because you let your legs at the crumple zone, and it could probably blow away in a strong breeze. It's just quite possibly the worst thing I've ever seen, or one of the worst. Not as bad as the car made of cardboard. I mean, at least these are unique. That's just rubbish. This, however, this is a Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren, and it is my second favourite car of all time. I'm going to putting it ahead of a McLaren F1 and a Aventador and an Agera may cause some controversy in the comments, but I don't care. I'm going to defend this car until the day I die. It's my second favourite car of all time, especially in this lovely green spec that I've chosen for the picture. And honestly, I think it's actually a little bit underrated because when I hear people talk about cars, there's so many people talking about the Enzo and the Carrera GT, which are incredible cars in their own right, but I don't hear as many people talking about the SLR, and I think that's a bit of a shame. But anyway, it's staying there. I'm going to defend this car. I'm going to be flamed in the comments for it, but it is what it is. Next car, Ford Model T. Now, by today's standards, it is an absolutely abysmal car, and I'm not the biggest fan of it anyway. But I'm gonna give it an extra boost for being it wasn't the first car to be mass produced, but it sort of revolutionised it and was massively successful. At one point when it was new, half the cars in the world were Fords, and that was a conservative estimate. So it's iconic, but it's a rubbish car, especially by today's standards. I don't like it, but it's iconic and very, very important in the whole history of cars. So I'm going to put it ahead of like the Oldsmobile. Now this car, I'm definitely going to get flamed in the comments for this. It's a Lamborghini Urus. It's technically better than a large majority of the cars on this list, but I absolutely despise it. I despise it completely. I want to put it in Burn It, but no, I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to put it in Atrocious, like the top of Atrocious. I'm going to get roasted for this. But, right. It's basically a Lamborghini body shell on what is essentially a VW Tiguan. And I hate performance SUVs. I hate these soft road grey SUVs. I think it's hideous. I just think it's completely ridiculous. And Lamborghini killed off the Stoke and Asterion concepts for that. And would they have sold well? I don't know. I mean, Lamborghini would probably still be around even if they didn't sell as well, and even if the Urus selling in its massive numbers fell for a Lamborghini. I still think Lamborghini would be around, so I'm not going to credit it with keeping the company afloat. There is a certain other super SUV, well, the Porsche Cayenne, which I would probably place it above it just for keeping Porsche afloat. It's again a car I hate, but I've got to give it some credit for keeping Porsche around. It's called the Wartburg, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Wartburg. It's again another crap Soviet era car. It's going in Burn It. It's just, look at it, it's soulless. At least they tried to make the car somewhat unique. It's just a bland box. Right. This car is the complete opposite of that. It's the Porsche 918 Spider. One of the fastest cars in the world when it was new. Not in terms of top speed, but just like in terms of how well it went around a track and how quickly it went around a track. And my personal favourite of the Holy Trinity. I'm going to put it below the F1. No, I'm going to put it above the F1 because... Yeah, no, I'm going to put it above the F1. No, I'm going to put it... no. Right, I'm going to put it above the F1 for now. It'll probably change later, but yes. I'm going to put it above the F1 for now because it's just incredible. And it was one of the first cars to use a hybrid powertrain and harness it for speed instead of eco. I mean, I think it still has an eco mode, but I don't think it has ever been used in the history of the 918's existence. Next car is similar. Not similar. the Ferrari LaFerrari. I mean, it has a different hybrid system to the Porsche. It has a then current style Formula One KERS system. I'll be completely honest, it's my least favourite of the Holy Trinity. But that's not saying much. I'm going to put it below the F1, but ahead of the Aventador. I mean, yeah, saying it's my least favourite of the Holy Trinity is like saying, I don't know, I've not got a good comparison. But yes. It's like saying, no, I've not got a good comparison. I'll come back to you with one, if I remember. Right, now, this one is probably also going to be quite controversial. Lexus LC500 convertible is my third favourite car of all time. I'm going to elaborate now after. Right, let it simmer in the comments for a minute. There we are. Now let me elaborate. It's one of the actually is the last in most places. Naturally aspirated V8 car you can buy. It sounds brilliant, and I like that. It's quirky. I've always liked Lexuses, and the styling on this is brilliant. It reminds me of like a samurai with the sharp edges, but also make it quite elegant. I think it's beautiful. It's probably my most down-to-earth dream car as well. So I mean, the SLR is more down-to-earth than a Zonda Cinque, but it's hardly down-to-earth. So I mean, another reason, that's probably one of the main reasons why I like the LC500 convertible so much, because I adore it, but it's also perhaps attainable for me in the future. Again, these cars are technically better, but I don't know. I have a soft spot for this Lexus. Now, this car I don't have a soft spot for. It's the Reliant Robin, or actually the Reliant Supervan. But the comment specifically mentioned one from Only Fools and Horses, which not only is it a Reliant, it's also a knackered, beaten up Reliant, so it's going to go below that, because it's basically the same thing. Well, it's not the same thing, but I mean, they'll both fall over. But it's beaten up, and it's just a Reliant Robin. Oh, I was going to say it's a Reliant, but then Reliant also make this gorgeous Scimitar GT, which I've put up here. Next car, well, we've not got any more dingers. Aston Martin 177. This is in my top 10 of cars, and I'm going to put it there. The dream car list is probably going to be full of all these high-end exotic. I just realised the thing wasn't visible. I'm going to put it here. It's going to be full of high-end exotic cars. But yeah, this Aston is in my top 10. Perhaps, actually, this might be my fourth favourite car of all time, because it's absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. I've maybe not chosen the best photo for it, but, I mean, I think we all know what the 177 looks like. I may change the photo for the next tier list episode, because, I don't know, I've not chosen the best one. But if you've not seen it, just look at it up. It's just incredible, especially in a blue with blue wheels. That's never normally a good recipe, but it just looks brilliant on that one specific 177. Bugatti Veyron 16.4. I prefer the Veyron to the Chiron. I have people say it's ugly. I don't see it. It's not a beautiful car, but it's not ugly. Where do I put it, though? I prefer it to the Agera and the Aventador. Right, okay, it's going to either be ahead or behind the F1. Well, I think I'm just going to tell you give some information about the road. As we all know, it was the fastest car in the world when it was new, 253 miles an hour. And it's got that incredible W16 engine, the 16.4 litres, quad turbo. Actually, the 4 might stand for quad turbo. It might, yes, 16. I think it's a 16 litre W16 quad turbocharged. So many. It's just more of a massive price. It's actually quite luxurious. So many radiators. The tyres had to undergo so many tests. Because it's quite a heavy car, the tyres actually had to undergo special tests. Like they had to have entirely new tyres to handle the speeds and the weight, so they didn't explode and you didn't send you off in a massive unpleasant fireball. But I'm gonna put it below the F1 for now. Again, this may change, but for now that's where it's going. But yes, that's the tier list complete. I think I went through these quite quickly. I think there was 19 cars, so more than usual, but I think I went through these a lot more quickly than usual. By the way, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and comment if you want to see some cars added to the video, and yeah, have a great day or night or evening or whatever you're having wherever you're on. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.